I have played a lot of Sonic games, and my experience with Sonic games are pretty mixed. These are the games I like, these are the games I dislike, and these games are just in the middle. Sonic Generations was one of the games I liked, and when I heard they were not only going to re-release it for modern hardware, but it was also going to be bundled with the new Shadow experience, that had my full attention. So how is Shadow Generations? It's actually really good. Sonic Generations has you select stages within this 2D white space plane, but in Shadow Generations, the white space is this 3D open zone area, similar to Sonic Frontiers' open zone areas. Now, during the open zone areas in Sonic Frontiers, the controls are actually pretty smooth, but I remember when you enter those cyberspace stages, the controls would stiffen up. Not to mention the open zone areas in that game also had their own fair share of jankiness. Here in Shadow Generations, not only are the controls for the open zone areas smooth, but when you play the actual stages, the controls remain buttery smooth. They don't stiffen up like they do in Sonic Frontiers, and there's no noticeable jankiness at all during Shadow Generations. Like, the gameplay is great. Matter of fact, these might be the best 3D levels in a Sonic game I've ever played. Not just the 3D levels, but for the first time in a 3D Sonic game, I've actually liked the 2D stages as well. I usually don't like when a 3D level transitions into a 2D level during your average 3D Sonic stage. Here in Shadow Generations, 3D stages remain 3D from start to finish, and 2D stages remain 2D from start to finish as well. In my opinion, that needs to be the basic standard for 3D Sonic games moving forward. You also have these Doom powers that you can utilize during these stages to unlock many alternate paths which aren't that hard to discover, and also collecting the medals within these stages that weren't too hard to find either. Let's look at Sonic Generations. For modern Sonic, I feel like you need to have some sharp reflexes when finding these alternate paths for him. Unless you decide to not boost on certain segments. Don't get me wrong, I also like this boost era of Sonic. It's just the time you have to react in this game is low. But I'm starting to prefer how they handled the sense of speed in Shadow Generations, and I guess even Sonic Frontiers. The white space area is a decent playground to run around in. You have some challenges to do, and there's also collectibles to get, so that this isn't just a space to run around in. Challenge gates are back. They are similar to Sonic Generations. However, instead of just completing one, you are required to complete all of them. The challenges aren't bad. I will say they don't feel like a drag to play. They're actually made pretty well. The music is always great in these games. The story is alright. Not much to talk about the story given how short this game is. Sonic's story is still the main attraction here since Sonic is the one that confronts the Time Eater. Shadow Generation is just a side story showing what he's been doing during this event. But gameplay overall, I think Shadow Generations might be one of the best 3D Sonic games I've ever played. I can see the mix of adventure and boost style gameplay here, and I feel like they've nearly perfected this new style of gameplay. As for Sonic Generations, it's still mostly the same game. Only thing they've added was Chow being another collectible alongside the red rings. These Chow aren't hard to find, especially when the collection room hints you where each of them can be found. But I think the weirdest change for me, at least those who played the original game, is the rewritten cutscenes. I don't know why go through the trouble, because now some of these cutscenes seem a little awkward. Maybe awkward's not the right word. They aren't paced anymore. Like the mouth flaps don't match up with the dialogue anymore. Also, some of the acting sounds lazy. Story is still the same, so I guess I can turn a blind eye, but it feels like an unnecessary change. But I think overall this collection has some great value. I can tell you confidently, for 50 bucks, you have two great games, both with a ton of replayability. And that's it. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.